A 17-point win for the Buffaloes here at the Coors Event Center. They beat Oregon State. Much-needed win. This is the post-game wrap-up brought to you by the Blake Street Tavern. Right, I feel like we should be doing this post-game wrap-up in our pajamas. It's so late here. But you're looking pretty dapper there in your suit. Again, much-needed victory. We talked before the game. You can't really talk must-win this early in the season, but after that disappointing Utah loss, this was such an important game for this basketball team.
Yeah, I didn't want to go there before the game, but I have no problem going.
Troy, what are your thoughts on this game?
I love it. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Before the game, I didn't want to go as far as to say must win because it is too early. But that being said, it was about as close as you can possibly get this early in the season to a must win. I mean, you just can't go to 1-3. You go to 1-3, all of a sudden you're worried about 1-4, and you hit 1-4, and it's honestly over. So now you're back to 2-2. It's kind of like you got a clean slate. There's a lot of other things going on in the conference. This was huge. Tad Boyle was not happy with the way they practiced this week. And he really, really got on them for the last couple of days of practice to elevate their play in practice and thus elevate their play in this game. And I think they came through in a big, big way. The way they defended and played and rebounded the ball in the second half was exactly the way Tad Boyle likes it.
30 minutes into this basketball game, Colorado had more turnovers than they had field goals in this game. It was really defense and rebounding, what we always hear Tad Boyle preach, that kept them in this basketball game. On the other side, if it wasn't for Gary Payton II, I mean, this was an Oregon State team that was going to get blown out of the water in the first half. Really special talent.
Yeah, I told you, I thought it was like, for 26 and 15, it was kind of quiet. He was like slowly creeping up there, and then he had that 4-minute kind of time where he had absolutely took over the game, and then all of a sudden you look up and he had like 22 and 13, and you're like, oh, wow. Yeah. He definitely is a special talent, and I thought they did a really good job defending him down the stretch. He definitely got his, and he gave Oregon State the lead at one point, and then the Buffs eventually said enough is enough, locked him down, and there was really no one else on the team that could hurt them.
Wesley Gordon with his 7th career double-double. He has 6 block shots in this basketball game, passes Cliff Mealy, number 6 all-time at Colorado in terms of block shots. One of his better performances as a Buff.
Wow, I mean, 6 seemed like not enough to me. I thought he had like 100. It seemed like every time someone went to the basket, I was like, oh, Wes is just going to erase it anyway. On top of that, Josh had three blocks of his own. Could have been a couple more with the way he affected shots. The way that they block shots down there, it's almost like the struggles on the perimeter get covered up in games like this. You got Lorenzo Bonham in that Utah game who just finishes everything around those shot blockers, which is not going to happen night in, night out. Other than that, I mean, it's been really hard for teams to score at the rim. And when Wesley plays with that type of fire, he can absolutely change the entire course of a game. Not only does he have all those blocks, he has 7 offensive rebounds, 14 total. Tad Boyle said that was the difference in the game on top of Josh Scott's defensive rebounding.
Yeah, between them, Josh Scott and Wesley Gordon combined for 37 points, 26 rebounds, 9 block shots. Oregon State's starting front court, 3 points, 3 rebounds. So just a huge disparity there. Thomas Akiazili is a guy that we've both enjoyed watching during his freshman season. At times he struggled with his shot. Today, finally, kind of connects on a few shots, 3 or 4 from the field, and he's out there in crunch time when it mattered most.
Yeah, Tad Boyle always says it's not about who starts, it's about who finished. And I asked him, Tommy finishes, what's up with that? And he basically said, his assist-to-turnover ratio is the best on the team in conference play. He was playing gritty defense, and he's playing great basketball right now. On top of that, Xavier Talton was a little banged up, but, I mean, there's a reason Tommy's the number 1 cop on the force, and it's because he can lock down on defense. And we talked about Gary Payton getting slowed down. Well, a lot of that had to do with Thomas Akiazili getting the call on him. He forces a stop, and I see him right up in Gary Payton's ear giving him the business. And that's the kind of stuff that this team has kind of been missing for a long time. I think Nate Tomlinson, maybe a guy that people like to compare him to, is another guy who liked to talk a little bit. But then Thomas even says that Gary Payton gave him some props after the game. So you got to love that, and I would be surprised to not see him continue to get down the stretch minutes.
I think the number 1 takeaway from tonight is finally down the stretch they can close out a quality opponent. It's something they were unable to do in the past. Now can they carry that over to Oregon, another big game? Do you think the attendance is going to be affected because the Broncos game is going, what can they do to kind of overcome that?
It's going to have to be, I think, another student-driven performance from the fans. A lot of those kids are going to be looking forward to the LA Rams next year. They're not exactly Broncos fans, all those California kids and all those West Coast kids. Maybe they skip out on the Broncos game and come here. It's going to be very tough. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to be covering the game with my Broncos duties. So it's not going to be a great crowd. They're not going to break 9,000 again. So I think, I think they can be okay. I think the crowd can be all right, but it's not going to be like it was tonight.
All right, well, it's late enough here. We're going to sign off here from the Coors Event Center.